All right, question of the week.
Ooh, here we go.
Yeah. What PlayStation 1 game do you wish you could go back and play for the first time again?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll come back to
figure
that.
it out.
We'll move on to the show, and
Yes.
we'll come back to that.
We'll come back. Yep.
Your local video store card.
A comic book in your back pocket.
Games with no tutorials.
Music you had to discover.
And drinking water straight from the hose.
These are the things us millennials remember fondly. We are the Jennings brothers.
Join us after the streetlights come on
as we race our bikes from the top of the hill
right down memory lane.
Exchange those quarters, because this podcast takes tokens.
Tokens! What happened? Tokens? Tokens! Tokens! My Colonel Campbell impersonation, I guess. With that, we are talking about the PlayStation 1 classic Metal Gear Solid, released September 3rd, 1998 on the PlayStation 1.
That's right.
One of the best consoles of all time, right?
Yeah.
Published by Konami.
Is your house empty, or are you alone, or is there people in your house with you right now?
Oh, no, everyone's here. I'm sure my wife probably heard that and is wondering what the heck I'm doing, but that's fine. That's fine.
Right,
if she comes and asks, I'll be like, let me show you. I'll go help you play Metal Gear Solid.
That's right. One of the best games ever.
Oh, my gosh. It is... this was so good. Now, I know you played this a while back, didn't you? Like, you did a replay on it.
I've played this. This is my burbs. I play this one quite frequently. I've owned this game since '99. I got this game in a bundle. A friend of mine was selling his PlayStation and sold me his PlayStation, this game, and a few others for the grand total of $60 in the summer of '99.
Oh, wow.
And so I got a good deal there, yes. And I spent the entire summer playing this game, I think 3 times through. I remember bringing it with me when I came up to visit Dad and everybody. Yep. And at one point, we had a TV in our room, and we shared a room with bunk beds there for the last few years in high school. Well, when I was in high school, and after Allie was born, rather. And we had a TV in that room. Well, the summer I came up, I expected that TV to be there with my PlayStation. And I got there, and there was no TV in our room. And I asked Dad what happened to the TV, and he said, "Oh, yeah, we put it up in our room because Pam likes to watch TV and that before she goes to bed." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, do you mind if I set up my PlayStation in here in the living room and just play it whenever nobody else is here?" And he was like, "Yeah, okay." And then a little bit later, he came back and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna bring the TV down and into your guys' room for you for the summer, and then we'll bring it back up later." And I was like, "Oh." So that was very nice, and I got to play on it. Spent the summer. Like I said, I played it 3 times through. And really it was just because, like, the first time I played it through, as you know, whenever you're done, you get a reward that carries over to your next game.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I had to play it through again to see if I got another reward. And sure enough, there was a second reward. And then I got a magazine after that about it, and learned that those were the only 2 rewards. And at that point I was like, okay, good, I'm done for now. Because then I started getting into Gran Turismo. But yeah, so I played it 3 times that first summer. And then I've had it on my GameCube. I had it on the Xbox whenever they released it for that.
Yep.
I got the Nintendo Switch version, which is what I've been playing this week.
Yeah.
I had it on my PSP, which was really nice because that was that was that first portable experience. That was a perfect game to take on the go with you, and really kind of what makes me miss my PSP is things like this, being able to play these old like PS1 games on there on the go.
It was a good system. It was a really good system.
That was my first experience with it. How about you? What about you?
Yeah. I remember playing it on a demo disc, if you remember those.
Yeah.
Like, so for those of you that are younger that don't know, they used to package, in the original PlayStation 1s, they packaged a demo disc, and it was just a bunch of little demos for games, or like they had some videos for games that were coming out. And then Tips and Tricks magazine had monthly demo discs that they would package.
Was that Tips and Tricks, or was that the PlayStation magazine?
Well, maybe PlayStation magazine did it too, but I remember getting at least a couple from Tips and Tricks. I didn't subscribe to Tips and Tricks. I was a kid that didn't have the allowance money for that, but I remember, like, occasionally when I had some money, if we were at the grocery store or something, I'd be like, I'm going to pick up this issue of Tips and Tricks. Yeah. And I believe it wasn't Tips and Tricks. It was the demo disc that came with my PlayStation 1 that had the demo for this on there. And it was just from when you're coming out of the water in the beginning.
Was that one? Okay.
To when you go up the elevator.
Yeah.
And then you're right before you go on the base with the helicopter and everything there with liquids, and then once you get into the base, the demo ends. But I played
Wow, that's a good demo.
Yeah, I played that so many times. I was just trying to like be stealthy, or I'd try, because they gave you a couple weapons early on that you don't get in the main game till later, just to try them out, And I remember like going full just kill mode on everything. yeah, and then the guys would just keep coming.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and I played that forever, and then I think finally I bought this game at an electronics boutique.
Yes.
Which GameStop ended up, buying them out. But I used to love EV games.
Land.
Oh yes. And I bought it from there, and yeah, I played this a lot. And then, like you were saying, the game, when I had my GameCube, they did the Twin Snakes remake of this. I bought that up like day one. Yeah. And that was, I've like been seeing a lot of hate online for that, but like I remember it being a really good remake.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I don't know what the graphics were updated, and it was just I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I can't imagine what you would hate about it. I mean, the gameplay is all there. Like, I guess maybe if you just didn't like, I think if there's any hate, it's probably for the GameCube controller, and maybe the play doesn't translate that well. But if you were an avid Nintendo fan like we were, you came from the NES to the SNES to that N64 thing to the GameCube controller was a nice upgrade from N64. So it was probably quite comfortable to play on.
Yes. So yeah, I played it on that a lot, several times through. And I never had it on Xbox, but I don't have it with me. Like, you had your little Switch copy with you.
Yeah.
But I ended up purchasing this on my PS5. So I've got the what are they calling it? Just the collection, or
it's the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1.
That's it. Yep. So, and that's what I recently played it on, last month, I think, I went through this again. And it rocked, just like it always has. I guess there was I remember there being a Game Boy Color version of this game, but I never played it, but I remember seeing it.
It had to have been a scaled down version of it. I can't imagine it was the same game.
Yeah, it was probably like Metal Gear Solid, but it looks like Metal Gear from the NES.
The NES one?
Or something.
Have you played the original, the 2 NES games?
I haven't. So the only one I've played on the collection is... I've played MGS1, and then I started to play is it Sons of Liberty is the second one, and I have gotten partway through that, but then Elden Ring has been totally.
Oh no, I mean the NES ones. Have you played the original?
Oh,
NES
I know what
ones?
you're talking. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I haven't played any of
Yeah.
those yet. Yeah.
They're on that collector's edition. I
They
believe.
are,
or is it?
yes.
Or is that just the
Nope.
Switch version of it?
Nope. They're on there. And then it has Snake Eater.
Yeah.
And so I have not played Sons of Liberty and Snake Eater. I have
Sons of
played,
Liberty is so fun.
That's what I hear.
It was a
and,
great
I've
follow up.
I'm on the boat at the beginning. Like I haven't gotten too far into it.
You're about to take a turn.
Okay. And then when I got my PS3, it came packaged with Guns and Patriots. So Metal Gear Solid 4. And that one was really good. But I remember the ending is like, because, these games are notorious for just long exposition videos and stuff. And I remember the end.
Just the first Metal Gear Solid, like there was a good half hour after the game was over.
Yep.
Of me just sitting there watching it like, okay, can I save now?
Guns and Patriots, my buddy Ian came over to the house. I think it was Ian. It was either Ian or his brother Leif came over to the house or to my apartment, and they're like, "Hey, you want to go do something?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm finished. I'm just about done with this game. Like, I'm watching the last video." It was an hour and a half later that video ended, and I was like, we still joke about that sometimes. We're like, "Gosh, this is like," I wanted to shut it off. I'm like, surely this video is going to end here. But anyway, yeah. And then I haven't finished Phantom Pain. I own it, but. And then all the side stuff I've never played, like Rising or the VR missions didn't really interest me and stuff. I know those are on the collection. Those are fun. But were they?
Yeah, that was short. It wasn't that much to it, but it was a nice like bridge. But it was a nice filler between Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2. I think because that's when it was a PS1 game, I believe, right? It was it came out after Metal Gear Solid, I have played through Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, and I haven't played anything since. Because I got my PS2 day one, and then Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, I think, about a year after. I think it was a year into the life cycle, and I got it when it came out, and I played it. I remember, actually, I was playing Metal Gear Solid 2 when I found out about 9/11.
Oh,
and
wow.
So I turned it off and turned on the news and watched what was going on there. But that's where I was whenever all that happened. I was playing Metal Gear Solid 2, and I would have kept playing it if I didn't get the news. But yeah, so then that was the last I played of it because I didn't have my PlayStation for much longer. I got rid of it probably 6 months after that, and I was playing GameCube and I was doing retro gaming a lot more then. And then Xbox came along, and I just haven't been back to PlayStation until the last year or two, really. So I got this one for the Switch, and I told myself I'm going to play through all of them. And I have played Metal Gear Solid, and I've played the NES ones, and I have not gone back and played the other two yet. Which I really haven't played the NES ones that much. I played them enough to kind of get an idea of them, but at some point I was just like, I can't. This is too. It's too. It's hard and it's not enjoyable as much as I would like it to be. So I've kind of like stepped away from those, and I'm going back to the Metal Gear and everything like that. But so I picked it up again this week, and I played through it. I thought quite a bit, but really I didn't even get past disc 1, which is like half the game. But so for me, I played it this week, and I got up to where you take out what's her name, Sniper Wolf? Is it Sniper Wolf? Yeah. And so I take her
almost
out
at the end of disc 1 then.
Almost, yeah. And then I get into what is it? Imprisoned? No, I get taken captive, and they're doing that electroshock thing. And the Joy-Cons I got aftermarket Joy-Cons. I can't remember the name of them, but they have like a turbo function. So right there, where you're having to like rapidly hit that button, I'm like, I'm hitting turbo and I'm getting through it. I'm blowing through it. I'm like, awesome, this is great. So I go through the first round, and then I come up to the second round. But so the turbo function's a little finicky, and you got to kind of like, I don't know. I got it like 2.5, 3 years ago. So I don't remember the button combinations to activate or deactivate it. And so I'm kind of guessing on if I've got it going or not. And so then that electric shock thing hits you. And if you're not on it, you're going down pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it's hard to recover from it if you're not on it. And so like the first time I did it, I came back and they brought me in for that second round of torture, and my turbo didn't activate, or it was weird. It kind of activated because it held up for the first half of it, and then it stopped working. And then it just wasn't like, I could feel the haptic feedback that the turbo was supposed to be working, but for whatever reason it wasn't working in the game. So I don't know if there's like, because I've skipped all the exposition, and so I don't know if at some point he said don't even bother. So I don't remember if there was at some point where he said, don't even bother with turbo because I can sense it or something like that. But I think there was.
That's
okay.
Yep.
So I think he's detecting that I'm using the turbo, and he's circumventing me, and so it killed me.
Yep.
And that's whenever I realized, I haven't saved since before Psycho Mantis.
And
so then I got to start all the way back over. And I did not learn my lesson. I got all the way up there again, and I died again and started back. And at that point, I was like, I'm done. I'm going to walk away for today.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
So I'll come back to it later, but that's where I'm at.
Autosaves are a great function that we have now. Because back
then, for granted,
you had save points.
Yes.
And if you didn't save the save point, you're
screwed.
Yeah, you're screwed. You got to play through all that again. But
I had died a couple times, but you get to continue from the last door you came through. And so I just kind of got to a point where I was like, that's good enough. I don't need to save every 5 minutes or whatever. Like the first time I played this game, I was saving every room I cleared. As soon as I got done in a room, save. As soon as I got done in a room,
you get to
save.
You get to talk to Mei Ling.
Like, you get to flirt with Mei Ling a little bit.
So her dialogue's great. I love talking to her. Yeah, so like that I enjoyed the save process because of that. Like, it was just fun for her to give her little, what were those little tidbits? Her
little haikus or whatever.
Yeah, haikus or like Confucius statements and stuff like that. And that was fun. That was fun. But so like this game was like this game like changed gaming for me.
Oh yeah.
Because it was like the first game that really showed me what video games can be.
What great storytelling a video game can be.
Oh yeah. It was like you're playing an action movie.
Yes.
Was what this was.
Yes.
And like before, not that I don't love Zelda, like it is probably my favorite franchise of all time.
Yeah.
Or Mario. I love Mario. I always pick up the new Marios and Sonic and stuff like that. But like this was cinematic.
Yes.
This had like intense action scenes in it. And,
actual footage of war zones and stuff like that too were used.
Very adult storyline.
Yeah.
Like made you think, and and then the things that they implemented, like with Psycho Mantis, that you had to move your controller to port 2.
Yes.
And they kept that.
Yeah.
God bless them. They kept it in the Master Collection. You have to go in and change that.
Oh, see, on the Switch, you get to go into the settings and you move your controller over. So I don't actually have to get up and switch anything. Because I was like, I don't know how this is going to work.
Yeah, well, that's how it is. That's how it is with PS5 too. Yeah, like you have to do that. But I'm so glad that they kept that in there. And you have to, with these new versions, you have to switch out. I'm using air quotes. The disc when you go to disc 2. It has that whole function, and then it has. They maintained all this. You're talking with is it no
Emmerich?
to get Meryl's code you have to look at the back of the box.
It's right there.
And yes, and it
I
has
know.
and if you didn't have that, you would never, back in the 90s, you didn't have the internet to figure this out. Like, it's just...
This is where I got stuck the first time this week when I was playing it through. I played through, and I was just in this loop where I'm like, I have searched this building over and over, and I cannot find the next key card.
Yeah.
Or where to go next. And I just looped through the building a few times. And then finally I was like, oh yeah, there was like that little bit about because, like, again, I skipped all the exposition, so I think they said something in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they said something, if they mentioned the code in there or what.
Colonel Campbell does, yeah.
Yeah. So then I went and I pulled it up online because I was like, I can't remember what it was, but I know it's on the back of the CD. And I was like, I don't remember if it's on the back of the Switch case or not. So that's why it's on my desk, because when I came up here, I pulled it off my rack over here, and I was like, is it on the... And sure enough, it's on the back of the Switch case. Is it on the back of the...
I don't think it's on digital. The back. Yeah, no, I have the physical version of it.
Oh, okay.
But it's not on the back of the PS5 case, but you can access the manual digitally through
that
the
makes
game,
sense.
and you can flip through it. And
that's
look
right.
at
You can do that on this one too.
But that stuff, oh my gosh, that blew me away playing this back in, 98.
It's so immersive. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or like you put the controller down and he vibrates it and moves
he's like, I will
and
make
everything.
I will make your controller vibrate. And then he starts reading your memory card.
Yes.
Do you remember that? Oh,
and there were like specific
gosh.
games that if you had saves for it, he would have different things to say about it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's pretty awesome. I wish that like on this version of it, you could go in and add save data from other games to have different reads from him.
Yeah.
But I mean, this time whenever I played it through, I was reminded of how much he'll call you out on being a poor player, because he called me out for all the times that I had been losing and not saving my game.
Yeah. So who was your favorite boss then? Like, obviously Psycho Mantis. Psycho Mantis to me is the most memorable boss, just because of all the tricks,
the different
everything.
tricks and everything. Yeah.
Who was your favorite boss that you played?
I think Sniper Wolf. I like a good sniper standoff. I kind of wish there was a little bit more to it. Like, I think she comes back later, and you have another snipe off with her on that big snowy field, don't you?
Yes,
or is that,
you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe when I get back to that,
that's when you finally kill her is on that snow field. Yeah.
Oh yes, right. And she
then
gives you
you've
the
got-
handkerchief for the dogs and everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Which
And then you have Otacon that's crying and everything.
Yeah.
yeah.
Otacon.
Like you've known her for like a day and you're just absolutely in love with her.
Yeah. Yeah. That was something that I was glad of having to like start, like whenever I got killed and I had to start back over Psycho Mantis, is the first time I went through it, I forgot to flip Meryl and then jump in the box so that she would have the dogs pee on the box. So the next time I go through, I didn't have to deal with all that. And so when I went through again, I did that, and because I hate those dogs are just annoying.
Oh, yeah, they're terrible.
And you can't shoot them. I mean, you can, but then it's like the game negs on you a bit for that, and that's... I don't know if it has any lasting impact on the game, or if everybody just kind of like rips on you for being a jerk and shooting a dog.
I think they do, because I ended up just blowing them away. Because I didn't realize you could do that with the box. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So there's another thing that's just cool about the game, You got stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know. There was several of them that I enjoyed. The Vulcan Raven one is pretty fun. When he's, walking around with
when he's got the big meg gun.
Yeah.
The minigun.
Now, I figured out, and I'm not the one that discovered this. It was, I can't remember who it was. There was somebody on YouTube that I watched their video, and there's a way to cheese him. So you stand, he's, at the beginning, he's going through the grid of like those big crates.
Yeah.
And if you stand on, like, he's coming this way, if you stand on a corner of the grid here and fire your Nikita missile, it'll blow up, and then as soon as you have a chance to fire it again, do it again, and he doesn't have to. He just gets up. He doesn't have time to shoot, and then it blows him up again. And you can just cheese him like that and kill him in like 5 or 6 hits real fast.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, he was fun. But
I forgot about him. Yeah, he was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Sniper Wolf is so much. Sniper Wolf may be my favorite too. I don't know. No, Gray Fox.
Gray
when
Fox.
You have to fight him hand to hand because he puts on the stealth camouflage, and you've got to like try to find him around the room and everything. And that one I really enjoyed.
I enjoyed that one, but the last time I played through it, I didn't enjoy it as much. I think because like I knew all the tricks. Like I was like, okay, chafe grenade him to get him to stop, and then hit him enough, and then when he starts doing the hide and seek thing, you turn on the thermal camera, and then you can see where he's at, and you can hit him.
Yeah.
And so like I think once you kind of figure out all their shortcuts, if you will, it just kind of like they just become like this tedious thing to go through. But I liked him as a character so much. He was a lot of fun, and I kind of wish you could get to play as him, or any of them, really. That would be nice. I wish they would have added that as like something like a new game plus mode or something where you could. I mean, I'm not sure how it will work with the story, but I guess at that point it doesn't really make any difference. But or for the VR missions.
Yeah. So what did you, when you were playing this, like what, if you go back and replay it, like what are you usually playing for like the reward at the end? Because if you save Meryl, you get the bandana, which gives you like infinite ammunition.
Ammo, yeah.
Yeah. And then
if you save Otacon, you get the invisibility.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I usually go for invisibility first. Just because that's more useful. I feel like, but then again, like if I was playing on a harder mode, I think no, it'd still be invisibility because you're gonna have less chances to get ammunition, but you're also gonna have less chances to get rations. And I feel like for me, the invisibility, because the issue I have with it is I'm not that stealthy in this game. Yeah. So I get discovered quite easily. And even like just trying, I don't know if it's a Switch thing or what. And that's why I really wanted to try and play this on the PlayStation, but it's not part of the play. I'd have to buy it. I'm like, I mean, maybe one day, but not this week. Yeah. And so on the Switch, whenever I was playing it, I don't remember if does he only sprint? Like there's no like sneak mode, right? Like he can only run. Like I tried easing up on the stick and he was either full speed or he just wasn't moving.
You can, you can crawl.
Yeah, you can crawl.
And then if you press yourself up against a wall, you can kind of
sneak around there.
Yeah.
But like as far as like coming up behind somebody, you're full sprint until you stop. Yeah. And so I found it difficult to get right up behind an enemy and then initialize the choke out because often I would either be like half a step too far to where I was in them a little bit and then they'd see me when I'd start choking them and it would raise the alert. Even though I'm choking them out, for some reason the alert gets raised, which I found annoying. I'm like, how did you get a chance to signal them? But whatever.
Yeah.
So, for me, I kept getting discovered because of that. Because I'd go to like choke them out, and I would just like hit that box just enough to alert everybody else, and then I'd start choking. I'd finish choking the guy out, and then I'd have to run. Like I'm instantly getting hit by gunfire and everything. So for me, the invisibility would be nice because then I could just like get around that. I could sneak a lot easier. And so I do go for that one first. I think in Sons of Liberty, in the second one, you have more of a walk run. Like you can just ease up on the stick and you can kind of walk versus, and it's easier to sneak around in that one. Whereas this one, it was just very much so like you're either running or you're not.
Yeah.
But yeah. So for me, that's what I'm going for first. What are you going for first?
When I was younger playing this, it was for the stealth camouflage.
Yeah.
The thing that I didn't like about the stealth camouflage is that you couldn't use it on bosses. Like they would still see, which I get, but it's kind of,
can you imagine if you could use it on bosses? That would just be
I know.
What's the point?
But yeah. Now I think it would be the bandana. Although the last time when I finished it last month, I inadvertently saved Otacon because on that section with Ocelot. And, when you're up there and you're getting electrocuted, if you fail that, then he ends up killing Meryl.
Yeah.
So you have to survive that to get the bandana. But I was doing really well on it, and because I don't know, I'm going to brag on myself a little bit. I can press buttons super fast. And I was doing really well, and then it gets to like the second or third time you got to do it, and I go to hit it, and my thumb accidentally hits like the X or something, which is like the give up button.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, oh crap, I gave up. But I had forgotten, because it had been a while since I played it, I'd forgotten that meant Meryl died.
Yeah.
And then I got to the end of the game, and then like I saved Otacon, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't want to like give hate to Otacon. Like I understand like the character is not like, he even says it. He's like, I'm not a soldier, he's a scared guy that just wants to get out of the situation. But yeah, I don't know.
He follows you into the second one. Meryl doesn't.
He does. That's true. Yeah. Well, I was surprised when I fired Sons of Liberty up, and he's on the other side of the intercom or the headset, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
we're just going to continue this on, aren't we?
Yeah. So, but yeah, now I would go for the bandana because I don't know. And the other thing, like I remember, it was kind of fun. It was funny playing back through this because I had forgotten like that first boss you fight is Revolver Ocelot. There's the senator that's all tied up, and you've got to run around. You can't touch the lines, otherwise the bomb goes off. And I'm like trying to shoot him, and I'm like, okay, firing the gun is square on PlayStation. I'm pressing it, and like I'm not doing anything. Like I'm literally like jumping and doing this. I'm like, what the heck? And then I realized you've got to hold down square.
Oh, and then release to fire.
Aim, and then release it to fire.
Yeah.
And that took me some getting used.
Yeah. That one kind of bugs me as far as like a miss on this game is that there's no you can't control that aim really. Like you can't like look down the sights, and you can't sight an enemy. You just kind of like you have that
Unless
little
you have a
dot and you
sniper
trace
rifle.
it.
But
Sniper rifle's dealing. But then you're like, he's got to like get down into his little stance, and then you got to pull it up, and then like you're zoomed in really far. Yeah,
you need the diazepam, otherwise you're like
just like all over the place.
Yeah.
You just had a little too much coffee that day, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what was your like? What do you think the hardest? Did you have like a part on this that was the hardest part for you to play?
I think remembering to save.
Okay. Yeah.
No. The hardest part. Man, I can't really think of any ones. It's pretty even throughout. I mean, the bosses aren't like they're not crazy hard, but they're not super easy either. They each have like a specific way that you have to play them.
May take you like one or two times. You'll beat them, but it may take you a couple times to do it.
Yeah, but you just got to kind of figure it out. And once you learn their pattern, then you're good. But I can't really. I guess maybe the end, the last fight, just because it's such a marathon. Like you have to beat him like so many different ways.
Yeah.
And so I think that's, and then if I remember correctly, there's not a lot of opportunities to pick back up like health and ammo and stuff like that. So you kind of got to go into it ready and have all your things stacked and then be sparing with everything. Like you can't just like spam them with everything. You kind of got to like, oh, this is where I use this and this is where I use that, and then come at them that way. But yeah, I think final boss. But I mean, that's how a good game should be. The final boss should be the most difficult part of the game.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. How about you?
My hardest part was after you beat Liquid. Like, so like you're saying, you fight Liquid. He's in Metal Gear, and you're firing your missiles at the radar, and you got to destroy Metal Gear. And then Gray Fox comes in, and he kind of saves the day, but he dies. And then you wake up, and you're on top of Metal Gear, and you get to that fist fight with Liquid. That part was challenging until I understood.
Because you keep falling off.
Yeah. But the part that I had the biggest trouble with was right after that. Because, like, you throw Liquid off of Metal Gear, and he falls into the fire. And then, like in my case, I met up with Otacon, and we're like, all right, we got to get out of here. And you run to, like, this Jeep, and Otacon's driving, or Meryl, if you save Meryl. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you've got all these enemies that are coming at you before you get into the back of the Jeep, and you got to kill all them, and you're on limited rations. Yeah. And then you get in the Jeep, and there's not a save this whole time. Like, you get into the Jeep, and then you're driving down that tunnel, and then Liquid is alive again. Yeah. And he's firing at you, plus other enemies are firing at you from other Jeeps. I had to play through that probably 5 or 6 times. I'd gotten to the point where I was, like, when I finally beat it, that was my last time, because I was like, I'm going to put this down. Because it does not give me any checkpoints along the way. Like, I am really struggling because I'm running out of rations here. Because you can't really aim very well with that machine gun on the back.
But you have unlimited
Jeep.
Ammo back there.
You do, yeah. I mean, you can't spam the button because it overheats. Yeah. But yeah, that was it. And then the funniest part of the game, you may not remember this. If you save Otacon, it's after the end of that, and Liquid finally dies because Fox Die kills him, and then you find this snowmobile that's, like, hidden away to get you to wherever you're supposed to go. I think, like, Campbell tells you where it's at or something like that.
Yeah. And
there's a second where, like, a few minutes where Otacon and Snake are talking, and Snake reveals that his name is Dave, or David, or whatever. Dave, he calls him Dave. And
the actor's name, too.
Yes. And Otacon's, his name is Hal. And then Snake goes, Hal and Dave. That's a good one. And they both start laughing. I'm like, that's not funny, but it's so cheesy. Like, you should, anybody listening, you should check that out. If you don't have to play through the whole game, like, check that little clip out on YouTube. It's just so hysterical because, like, this game is, like, a great storyline, and it's great writing, and I feel like it's got a full voice cast. Yes. And everyone is really good in it. But then you get to this one line at the end. Well, okay, everyone's pretty good in it. But there's a few exceptions. You get to this one line at the end that's just like, Hal and Dave. That's a good one. Like, it's completely out of character for Snake to say it. Yeah. And it's the stupidest line. And then they laugh about it like it's the most funny thing that anyone's ever said. And they drive off into the sunset on a snowmobile.
Butch and Cassidy.
Yes.
Maybe it was like a reference to something at the time. I can't think of anything around that time that was like
maybe
Hal and Dave. I don't know. Wait, there was that AI named Hal.
Oh, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah. Was the guy's name? Didn't he say like
Hal?
Hello, Dave?
It was Dave.
Yeah. That's it. That makes sense now.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So now is it funny?
I was not thinking that.
No. I didn't know. Okay. I've never seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, so I wouldn't have made that connection.
Don't watch that movie. It's That's one movie I was like determined, because I was on a sci-fi kick at one point in my life, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch all these like highly praised sci-fi movies. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I'd watch like 30 minutes of it, and I was bored to death. I'd turn it off, and then like the next day I'd be like, no, I got to finish this movie. So I'd watch like another half hour, and I'd turn, like, it took me like 6 or 7 sessions to finish this.
So I shouldn't put it on the list.
No, it's so bad. I mean, but it's got a cult following. Or, well, no, it has a big following. There's a lot of people that like it. I don't understand it. But,
nah, it's Kubrick for you. You either get him or you don't. I guess. I'm like lukewarm on it, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, Hal and Dave. All right, that makes sense. We solved that mystery.
So how about the music in this game? Like that beginning, that
yes,
like when you just see the Konami logo.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! And all the music when he's coming in the water, and
orchestral and beautiful, and it definitely makes the game feel like, you said, like an action movie, like a spy thriller. Like you feel like you're in Mission Impossible or James Bond or one of those, and you're the star. And it's just a fantastic game.
It's really like I said, it's like the first game that I played. I'm not saying there's other games that may have not came out before this that were like that, but to me, I feel like this was the first game that was just like, okay, like video games went from a hobby to me to like this, and I still think this one day. Oh, it's a passion, yeah. Like I see video games as a form of art. Yes, and
this is a prime example.
So passionate about them. Yes. So passionate about them. And this is the one that did it. Yeah.
Yeah, because all those, like, I mean, it really used the PlayStation 1 and to every extent, like you're talking about, all those little tricks with the memory card and the controller swaps and, the CD cases and just the different ways it used the environment outside of the game in the physical CD case that you were holding in your hands. I mean, that's just not something that was done a whole lot. Like, I feel like it's like they look back on the old 8-bit games where we had like an instruction booklet, and we would play the game with the instruction booklet, because you kind of had to in some games to kind of have a better understanding. I mean, you can play the game, but whenever you open up that instruction booklet and you flip through it, you go, oh, okay, there's a couple things in here that are actually useful. And this was one of those. For like 10 years, it seems like we forgot about that. Like, we went to the Super Nintendo era, and then the game booklets just became artwork, which is fine. A lot of them were beautiful, but they were secondary. They weren't part of the gaming experience. And this is a game that kind of went, no, this can, like, we can still use this. We can still have information here that is used in the game, and just things like that just really made it feel like more than just a video game. It felt like an experience for sure. Yeah. And the way they use the environment, like, really, I mean, you look at the footprint of the map, it's pretty small. There's not a lot to it, but it has you go through that map several times in several different ways. Through this like key card system. Like, you can only open so many doors, so you gotta like take 2 steps forward, and then you gotta take 4 steps back, and then you gotta walk forward again, and then you gotta come back, and it's just all this back and forth. But it doesn't get repetitive, it doesn't get worn out, because it changes up the environment ever so slightly. Like, there's maybe a few more things in there, or the guards are different, or maybe certain doors you can't go through now, or certain doors you can go through now. And it challenges you to remember where you've been and what is where. And other than, I think, going back through the vents and going outside where you first came in, I think that's the only part where you don't really return to. I mean, you can, but you don't really have to.
There's no,
And then once, like, you discover the cardboard boxes and being able to use those to move around the map a little quicker, so you're not having to, like, trudge through, like, walk it every time. Like, you can just jump in a box, and then you're 3 levels ahead or 3 levels behind or whatever.
Yeah.
It was
Because
just-
you could put yourself in the back of one of the trucks, if I remember right. I didn't do this in
Yeah.
my most recent playthrough, and then it would like move you to a different place. Another
There
thing
were
that
3
was just
trucks, I
thinking
believe.
about- Was there 3 trucks?
I believe there was just 3. But it was
Another
like 3
thing that I
different
was-
places. Yeah.
Okay. That I was thinking about that as we're talking, and I didn't have any notes about this. I completely forgot about it. Was it even had, like, when you get the C4, they had those sections of the wall that you could
Yes.
knock on, and it was like, oh, it's hollow. So
Yeah.
I can blow this open, and there's a whole nother section here
Yeah.
of, there's a room. There's, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
got this weapon now that I wouldn't have found if I didn't have this, and then getting the key cards to launch, or to cancel the well, you end up launching.
Oh, yeah.
But to cancel the launch from Metal Gear, going back and like making it cold and then
Or
coming
making
and
it
making
hot or whatever. Yes.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was
and then
a nice
you could
touch,
search
too.
around in that like moat that was around there, like that water, and you would find different
Oh, yeah.
things in that water, and then you remember Hal gives you the ketchup in that
yeah.
one scene, and you have to like use the ketchup to make yourself look like you're dead, and the guard comes in, and then you subdue the guard. Little things like that just make this game so good.
Yeah.
That they just have the forethought of just putting, I don't know, just they change up the gameplay so much in different sections. Because like every boss is a different approach to the boss. It's not just like, I'm going to run in here and gun it down, and just be on
Yeah,
the
you got
next
to kind of
boss.
think it through. Which the ketchup thing, I don't think I ever did the ketchup thing. I always hid under the bed whenever he went to the bathroom. Like he had to go to the bathroom real quick, and I would hide under the bed, and then he'd come back in and he'd go, "Oh my God, he's out and he's lost!" And
Yeah.
he would go through the door, and he'd start like talking about how like I got out and like how could I have escaped and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then when he's got his back turned, you come back out and you choke him out, and then you can get out. So multiple ways to get through some scenarios. But I think if you don't do that the first time or maybe the second time, then Hal comes in with the bottle of ketchup and he's like, "Here, try this," or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there are multiple ways to achieve a goal too, which is nice. I mean, I feel like this is something that like the more recent, and I only say more recent because I don't have much experience with the early and mid 2000s, but the more recent like Breath of the Wild and God, Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda games really kind of keyed in on, really took and ran with, is this idea of there are multiple ways to solve a problem and just giving the player the tools to do that. And
I
like
think
you
that's why
said,
they're so popular. Yeah.
yeah, and even with the weapons, like you could, like whenever I was taking down Psycho Mantis earlier today, you can take him down with guns. You can just fight him hand to hand. You can lay down some bombs if you want to. Like there's multiple ways to achieve the same goal, and it's just all about like what do you want to use now and what do you want to save for later.
Yeah.
And it's just this is one of those games that just forces you to think about what's coming up, and sometimes you don't know, and what you just did and what works best in the situation for you. I always enjoy that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was probably like one of your favorite scenes, like cut scenes or like dialogue scenes where they would like have a little bit of conversation?
I always liked they weren't like cutscenes really, but I always enjoyed the communications with the different characters.
Oh, okay.
Just this, it was such a simplistic way to progress the story, and you would just see like their head and they're talking. But I always felt like it was like, especially when Snake, like I talked about meleeing, but when Snake is talking to Naomi, and like she has all this stuff about when she was younger, and they get into kind of her backstory a little bit.
Which becomes like a plot point. Like they take her out of the off the table.
They do,
for a
yeah,
little
because
bit.
she's a spy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they also in that you think you're talking to his old mentor Sensei,
Yeah.
and then he pulls the sunglasses off and lets his hair down, and you realize, oh, it's Liquid he's been talking to the whole time.
Yeah.
Which,
the big bad.
Yeah, like now may sound kind of cheesy, but the first time you're playing that, you're like, whoa, like you really didn't know that was Liquid, and that he's just been playing you this entire time, and it's such a great twist in the game they
don't show him either up until that point, because the whole time it's all the other characters talking about the boss says this or the boss said that, and so they're acting on orders, but you don't actually see him until that reveal.
Yeah,
which just made it more dramatic. Yeah.
Well, and then like I was saying earlier, like at the end or towards the end, where you're changing that key card, the molecular, how it works to make it hot, cold, and room temperature, because you think that you are canceling this nuclear launch, and Liquid has tricked you into actually causing the nuclear launch. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's so good. Like the story, this one's really good. I know like they kind of get, like I said earlier in the episode, they kind of get long-winded as the series goes on. And I haven't played Metal Gear Solid 3. I've heard that's like the best one.
Yeah.
And I need to get to that. But, gosh, the story in this one was just... It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. And I know they're winded, but I even like the story in the other ones that I've played.
Yeah. Especially the first time you play through them. I mean, the first time I was hanging on every word. Mm-hmm, just, this is like a movie that I'm in, like a 3-part movie that I'm watching here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed them. For sure. And even, I mean, the only thing is, like, the third or fourth time you play it, then you're just kind of like, okay, I'm going to skip over all this stuff. And so maybe you're not paying as close attention, or certain things like, okay, I know I got to do this thing, like the whole key card situation, make it hot and cold and everything. And I think I'm doing one thing, but I'm setting, like, I know the difference. Why can't I just skip this and like we can just be done with this game? Can we end it here? Like, can I just enter in the code that says I know this is the wrong thing? I'm going to do nothing. Nope, because there's a timer. So that's kind of like once the secrets are spoiled, the replay is still fun, but the story is a little less entertaining because you're hitting the motions. Yeah, But it's like rewatching any movie. You know what's going to happen, but you still watch it anyways because you're enjoying it. And it's the same thing here. It's still fun.
And that's what was good. That's what I enjoyed about the replay this time, was because it had been years since I'd played the original Metal Gear Solid, so I'd forgotten some of the plot points. So it was kind of fun to go back, like even the small stuff where you're in that elevator.
Yeah.
And Otacon's, like, the elevator keeps saying it's overweight. And Otacon's like, hey, Snake, we're missing 5 of the stealth camouflage units. And then he's like, they're in the elevator with you, Snake. And then the guys, like, kind of appear, and you've got to kill them. And I don't know, it's just stuff like that, like, when you first do it, or in my case, you'd forgotten about that, and then you're going back through it. You're like, oh my gosh, like, it's exciting.
Yeah,
it's an exciting
game. You play through it again, and like the controller, like Psycho Mantis, I'm playing him earlier today. I know the control trick. As soon as I get into that room with him, I switch the controllers because I know what to do. And then as soon as I get on an elevator and I hear that little alarm, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what to do. So I go stand in the corner and I wait. And as soon as I get my chance, and they're all down. And it's a lot quicker. It's a lot easier. And I'm not surprised, but unless you forget. So was this did you go back and play it this week, or
no?
When did you play it?
It was like a month ago that I finished it up. I mean, I played it in like a week. I finished it. It's not a super long game, and that's with me, having, a adult responsibilities. Like, maybe an hour or two one night here, or a couple hours on the weekend here. Like, you could realistically beat this in probably 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah, I think you could do it in one sitting if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
If you really wanted to. Yeah.
Which is fine. Like, I'm okay with a game that length. Every game doesn't have to be some marathon.
Epic. No.
Yeah. So
no, I think this is my ideal length for a game. This is my ideal. I mean, this is kind of this is probably my favorite game. One of, if not my favorite games, and for that being one of the reasons that it's just the right length, it's just the right amount of challenge and ease that I can enjoy it every time I play it, and that's why I've played it so many different times. But I mean, really, I say I play it all the time. I probably play it like once a year, but I pick it up and I start it once a year. As far as like finishing it out, I think I've only finished it out like maybe 5 or 6 times in my life, because I'll start playing
a good
it
amount,
and
though,
and I'll play it for a couple hours, and then, like you said, adult responsibilities, I put it down. Maybe I'll come back to it a day or two later.
Yep.
But it's rare that I come back to it a third or a fourth time. It's usually like 1 or 2 sittings, and then I forget about it. And then whenever I come back to it, I'm like, well, at this point, I kind of forgot where I'm out of the rhythm. I need to start it up again so that I get, because like some games, it's like you can't pick up in the middle. For when you're so far removed from when you got to that point, you really got to go. You kind of want to go back and experience it up to that point again. I kind of wish I could do like a recap, but I suppose I could online. But no. Did you notice the anti-smoking campaign they had worked in here?
Oh, yeah.
They kept ragging on him for smoking.
Yeah. Naomi is like, there's... it was one of the... I was looking through some quotes, and I was trying to work a quote in to the beginning of the episode, like I did, but just with a different quote. And there was... I came across one where Naomi's like telling him like the whatever chemical that's in there that causes lung cancer and all this stuff. And there's this, yeah.
That was pretty fun. At the time, even, I was like, okay. I mean, I get it. Like, smoking's bad and all this, but come on, guys. Like, who's playing this game and has reached this point and they're like, oh, this is the light bulb moment. This is where I realize I shouldn't be smoking because of I quit smoking because of Metal Gear Solid.
That's right.
I want to meet that person who says, I quit smoking because of Metal Gear Solid.
Leave us a comment if that's you,
right.
because we want to commend you.
Well, any final thoughts on the game? I mean, I could go on forever, but we kind of need to wrap it up.
I don't know. It's a great game. I mean, like I said, we've touched on virtually everything in this.
More or less.
And we can keep going on, but it's good. It's one of my favorites.
I'm looking forward to going back and playing. I think I'm gonna. I don't know. I may pick up where I left off. I may just jump back into Sons of Liberty because I really did enjoy Sons of Liberty, and I enjoyed that. I don't want to say more than the original, but I definitely enjoyed it. It was a great sequel, and then I want to jump into 3 as well. But you've also got me on Tecmo Bowl, so I don't. I mean, or Retro Bowl, so I don't know where I'm gonna have the time to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then next week we're gonna have a special guest, Steven. Steven's coming on. Steven, he runs the best little toy museum in Texas, and I've been wanting to do an episode on toys. I just couldn't really figure out. I couldn't dial in how that episode of the podcast was going to look.
Yep.
It's an audio medium and everything. But so my family and I discovered this it's called the best little toy museum in Texas. And they opened it in our backyard. And when I say backyard, I mean same town, less than 2 miles away from me.
Like right behind the hot tub, you can reach over and grab it.
Just about. So my family and I, we went and checked it out, and we met the owner, and it was just, it was a lot of fun. Like, he has like a little scavenger hunt that you do in the museum, and you kind of go around and he's got all these clues, and you find different characters in the museum, and you check them off and everything, and that was a lot of fun. And so I knew that this would probably be a good way to get that conversation about toys going. So
Yeah.
we'll have Steven on as a guest, and we're going to talk to him about his massive collection of toys that he turned into this museum, the best little toy museum in Texas.
Yeah.
I'll put a link in the show notes if anybody wants to check it out and see what it's about before we go into it. But with that, to paraphrase Snake, podcasting is just one of those things that gets easier the more you do it. So we've reached another checkpoint, my friends. Sharing is caring. Reviews help a lot. And keep those tokens ready. Until next time.
See ya. This podcast takes tokens is a Clay Street production. All right, so back to our, I'm just going to dub it weekly question now. Can we do that?
I thought we were calling it the icebreaker.
You want to do the icebreaker? Okay.
We can call it whatever. Yeah, weekly question is good. Whatever. Weekly icebreaker.
Icebreaker, weekly question.
The blockbuster question.
The Boom! That's it. The blockbuster question.
Wait, maybe the podbuster. The
Podbuster question.
That sounds like we're encouraging Tide Pods to be eaten. I don't know about that. We got to come up with something. We'll come up with something.
Yeah. I mean, that is kind of vintage now.
That's true.
Anyway. Okay, so regardless, the question here. What PlayStation 1 game do you wish you could go back and play again for the very first time?
This one. 100% Metal Gear Solid. Yes. I mean, come on. The first time you played this game, it was such a fantastic event.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of a single game that I played the first time and enjoyed as much as I did playing Metal Gear Solid the first time. That was just so much fun. I mean, even like Zelda, like I can't really remember the first time I played Zelda because I played it in bits and pieces, like spurts and starts and everything. And like I'd play it a little bit and I'd, forget about it for a while. And then I'd come back and I'd play it again for a little bit. Maybe I'd get a little bit further that time and then I'd forget about it for a while. So I'd start over again, or my game would get erased, or whatever the case may be. As much as I enjoy it, I think this is the game. This Metal Gear Solid is the game that 100% I would want to play for the first time again if I could. But I don't think I can get that experience back. There's no way. Yeah. How about you? Is it Metal Gear Solid for you too, or is it something else?
I was on the fence. I'm like, do I want to say Metal Gear Solid? Because I would like that. I'd love to replay this game for the first time. But I think for me, it would have to be the original Resident Evil.
Oh, okay.
Resident Evil 2 was the better game for PlayStation 1. Resident Evil 3 was really good, but Resident Evil 2 was the best. But Resident Evil 1, I remember we would go... I read a bunch about it on different magazines. I'm like, oh, this looks really interesting. And I'd never really played a horror game before, And there was... So here in town, we didn't have a Blockbuster, but we had a movie gallery, which was kind of we had those video rental store. Did you? Okay. And they had Resident Evil that you could rent, and I just wanted to rent it so bad, and I didn't have the money. And anyway, I think it was over the summer one year. I was cutting grass. And I had some money, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna rent it. And for some reason, they let a 12-year-old kid rent something, and rent a mature rated game at that, but rent something, and I brought that home, and man, that experience, just all the little all the little secrets in the game, and not knowing where the zombies are, and I mean now I've played through it. I've owned it on I never actually owned the PlayStation version because I played through it because I just rent it.
You basically owned it.
Well, yeah. I've owned it on GameCube. I've purchased it again digitally for Xbox 360. I bought it when they did it on Xbox One. I have it now for my PS5 because they went on sale. I think it was on sale for like $5. I'm like, okay, I haven't played through it again, but and then I think now they're gonna do because they've been doing remakes of, like, they did Resident Evil 2 remake, 3, 4. I think they're going back and doing 1 again in the new RE engine. But anyway, I would play through that again because I wish I could have all the spooks and the, not know the solutions to all the puzzles and stuff like that again, which I think might be good. In these new remakes, they have been changing some of that up to kind of make it fresh for older players. So, yeah, could be fun. But yeah.
I mean, we've seen them do that in the Dragon Quest series, where each iteration of it is slightly different. Like maybe they move some things around just a little bit, or they change some of the dialogue or some of the characters around just enough to kind of keep it fresh and interesting. But on a game like that, you could do a whole lot more to make it like almost a fresh replay. I've played some of the Resident Evil games. I think I played 5. It was the first one I played all the way through and beat. I played the first one a little bit, and I played, I think, the second one a little bit. But those games I enjoy, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of fun with them, but the one thing I don't like is the anxiety that they induce.
Oh, yeah.
and
yeah.
For me, I can't deal with being that anxious for that long.
Yeah.
It's draining on me, and so those types of games I play few and far between because of that. Because that drains me so much.
And that's something with me. Like especially Resident Evil 2. RE2 is one that 4 I think is the best, but 2 is a very close second. And and they even did this in 7. I don't know. There's a lot of them that I really, really like. Anyway, I don't know, because I'm thinking of Village. Village was, maybe that's 7. Village was incredible. Anyway, when they have an enemy that stalks you, and they're constantly, and RE2 did that with Mr. X. He's constantly, like, you think you can get away from him, but he's going to end up showing up again. And then when they did in the original, there was like the center of the police building that was always safe. But then when they did the remake, they made that not safe. So like but anyway, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like the anxiety of having somebody chasing me is something that I gotta just get through that part of the game and then, be done with it. But,
yeah, they cause me to just be on edge the whole time, and it's fun. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's fun, but there's definitely like it's draining, and there's a point where I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I have to move on. I gotta go on to something else. I need to relax. I like to relax a little bit whenever I play my games. That's why I like my golf games, because I can just there's nothing jumping out at me in a golf game. I can just relax.
Just hit it.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so. This week we have some comments. We got they rolled in this week. I'm telling you, man. They kept coming. So I'm going to start with our YouTube comments. I'm never quite sure how to tackle these. Should I tackle them by the episode and the comments that they tied to, or should I tackle them by the format? And so I think I'm going to kind of do both. I'm going to start with YouTube, and we're going to start with Jurassic Park. And on YouTube, we had a comment about our Jurassic Park episode. It was from Jen Chastain 76, who says, Jurassic Park was also the first time a movie was in the theaters for a year. A year! Exclamation point, they say. That's crazy. And yeah, I remember being in the theaters for a very long time, but I don't know that it was necessarily, was it the first time? Because I know, like, back in like the Star Wars was in the theaters for a long time because they didn't have, like, home video wasn't as big of a thing back then. So they had longer runs, or they would come back into the theater several times.
That's what I'm thinking. And I think he's meaning one continuous thing. Because,
run. Okay.
Yeah, because I remember, I've said this on the podcast before, I remember The Lion King coming back to theaters again. But yeah, I think what he's meaning is one continuous run, I think, which I believe he's correct on that. So yeah.
Maybe right. Yeah. Okay. I didn't fact check him because that's not what we're here for. And
no,
if you want to fact check him, go find the comments. Go to town. I would encourage you to hash it out in our comment section.
Yeah.
Then we had another comment. And he'll be right. And he can hash it out back and forth.
Right.
That's right. Y'all can go back and forth down there. It's fine by me. So we had another comment on the Jurassic Park episode, this time on Instagram, on one of our shorts that we put out, little clips that we put out from the episodes to kind of promote them. Forest Bird Origins says, I was like 4-5 years old when Jurassic Park came out. I did not watch it until it came out on video and fell in love with that movie. I loved the toys and the whole dinosaur concept from there on. I even had that game for the Sega Genesis. When The Lost World Jurassic Park came out, the theater oversold the seats, and my dad got a refund if we agreed to have me sit on his lap throughout the whole movie. It was certainly an experience, and by then I was like 8 or 9 years old. So I've never had that happen for me where the theater's like, we've oversold the show. I've never had that happen before. Has that ever been something that's happened with you?
I've not had it happen. I can't imagine having my 8-year-old sitting on my lap
for an hour and a half.
2 hours. Yeah. Kudos to your dad.
That age. Yeah, your dad deserves a medal.
Yeah. Yes,
absolutely. That's a hell of an experience for a movie theater or first remembrance of a movie is sitting on Dad's lap. But man, that's something that that's a good memory to have.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, so we're gonna move on to our Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Sorry, I had written it shorthand and I was blanking on the name for some reason. Raiders of the Lost Ark, not Rotla. We had a comment from Brian Mulligan, 5956. What's with the numbers at the end of people's names? I'm always curious about that. Do they pick those numbers or do they get randomly applied? This is YouTube. I think it gets randomly applied.
Yeah.
If you don't, specify. But Brian Mulligan, I'm assuming the numbers mean nothing, says in response to our indie episode, speaking of recurring characters, actors, you guys missed the big German mechanic that Indy fought at the plane was played by Pat Roach. And he also played the palace slave guard that Indy fought in Temple of Doom.
Really?
I did not know that.
No.
That is a fun
interesting
fact.
Thank you for that tidbit. Yeah.
I'll try to remember that when we come back and do Temple of Doom. But I feel like I think we might skip Temple of Doom, at least for our next indie movie, and probably do
Last Crusade.
Last Crusade, or maybe Kingdom of Crystal Skull. That's gonna be a tough one. Maybe it would be Temple of Doom before Kingdom. I don't know. I might get you to do Dial of Destiny before we do either one of those. I don't know. But yeah, so if we win, because we will do Temple of Doom, but when we get to doing it, I'm trying to remember that, and we'll bring it up and
absolutely.
try to remember to credit you for that one.
Yeah.
We also had, I can't remember what it was, but we had a couple of negative comments, but those got squashed, and we shall not mention them.
Okay.
But let's see, moving on to our football video game episode. That was a more recent one. That one actually just released this last week. While we're recording this, we're a few episodes behind. We record a few episodes out, I should say. And the football video games episode released Monday night, Tuesday morning, depending on which platform you listen to it on. And we are recording this on Thursday. But our football video game episode released this week, and Josh Kraus, Kraus, Kraus?
Yeah. Buddy of mine.
Buddy of yours, okay. He's got 329 at the end. I'm assuming that's a random number again.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean something. I don't know. Is that his lucky number, perhaps? I don't know.
I don't think that's his address or anything.
I hope not. He says, I really enjoyed Blitz and NCAA 06 a lot. I enjoyed Blitz. I know that much. Mm-hmm. And you had mentioned the NCAA games and enjoying those as well. I can never get into the NC games, but, I'm not a huge college fan to begin with, but I definitely enjoyed Blitz. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Dustin Foster, 8489, replied to that episode as well. I did not specify on the YouTube ones if it was a comment on the episode or a comment on one of the shorts, but I kind of lumped them all together.
Yeah.
So maybe it came from a short, maybe it came from the actual episode. It doesn't really matter. It was about the episode, the football video games episode.
Yeah.
And it was on YouTube. That's all that matters, right?
That's right.
Dustin Foster says the tactical football game that you mentioned is Blood Bowl. I believe you were referring to that one.
That's it. Yes.
He says it's actually based on the tabletop miniatures game of the same name.
Oh.
It's made by Games Workshop, the creators of Warhammer 40,000.
Okay.
Which I did not know there was a tabletop miniature football game involving
I did not.
monstrous creatures. But I got to say, I looked it up. That game looks like it might be kind of fun, but you said you didn't enjoy it?
No, that's one I hadn't played. Like, it looked interesting to me. It looked interesting, but I have not pulled the trigger on buying it yet. Yeah.
I'd say
it's
that,
on sale.
It looks interesting. Like, it's just like you're monsters and you're playing football. I mean, that could be a lot of fun, or maybe not. Maybe it would be annoying. I don't know. I think at the very least you might get a few good rounds out of it.
Yeah.
But Dustin answered that question, and for us, kind of helped us fill in that gap. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Let's see here. Last, we have a Facebook DM, a direct message that we received over on Facebook, which we're not super active on, but it's there. If you're there, we're there.
Yeah.
So we received a DM. I'm just going to say Nick. We're just going to call him Nick. Nick will know who he is. I'm going to leave off anything else. Nick says, hi, I'm Nick. Can you review a classic 80s cartoon show for me? And we asked, well, what classic 80s cartoon shows did you enjoy? And Nick wrote us back, actually, just before we came on here, and says he's requesting for us to do a rewatch of the classic 1983 cartoon series, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And Nick, boy, I got to tell you, that is on our list. That is,
yes, it is, sir.
Probably one of the first 20 things we added to our list of things that we want to talk about, and it is on there. We want to talk about the movie, good and bad. Well, I should say bad and promised good. But for what it was at the time, it was enjoyable to some extent. We definitely want to talk about the cartoon series, the toy line that went along with that. Just every aspect of it. I think we'll roll the toy line and the cartoon series together. Those seem to those are going to pair really nicely together, and then we may do a rewatch on the movie. Well, we will do a rewatch on the movie, but that'll probably come later. But I think we're going to try and do probably a a little bit of a teaser for it and do maybe a Saturday morning cartoons episode down the line of the podcast where we just talk about different Saturday morning cartoons that we enjoyed growing up and just kind of like touch on those before we spin off and do a full podcast episode that is about maybe a specific one. And He-Man would be the first one that we'd do for that for sure. For sure. Yeah, that's coming, man. So stay tuned and we'll get that to you for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a long list of topics to discuss for episodes. Our list is at, I'm looking at it now, 258 episode topic ideas long. So we got a lot of ground to cover. We have episodes slated through February of 2029. So
yes,
if you're here, we'll be here for a while.
Yeah. February 2029. No, that's the end of it.
That's where we've run out of things to talk about. Unless you send us some more topic ideas, folks. I mean, we would definitely be open to suggestions. I think that list will continue to grow for sure.
Oh yeah,
we'll be continue to add to it weekly.
We'll be thinking and like we'll text each other. Oh yeah, what about this or something?
Absolutely, so, yeah. Well, I think that takes care of most of the comments. I think there might have been like one or two that slipped through the cracks, and if there were, I apologize. Like I said,
we'll
just
we'll
a lot
look
of
through and we'll try to throw some on next week. But yeah, it's a good good amount of comments. We really appreciate it, man. We started this and we didn't know if anybody would care to listen to us, and we're getting comments, getting feedback, and
getting lots of views over on YouTube, and definitely more on YouTube than Spotify, which I think that's just because Spotify only tracks Spotify numbers and it's not tracking other platforms like Apple or any of the others. And YouTube is a visual medium, and as you can, if you're watching us there, you can see we do a video feed of this same podcast. It's just the two of us talking heads, so you have our pretty mugs to look at while you're you're listening to us, and you can kind of see how similar or dissimilar we may look to some people. You know, whenever I told my wife that we were going to do this, back in February, whenever we first started planning on doing this, she said, it's just going to sound like you're talking to yourself because you and your brother sound so much alike that how's anybody going to be able to tell the difference? I was like, nah, we sound we sound different enough that I think it'll work, and I think it works.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, with that, that's all I got. Till next week.
Yeah, that's it. We will, we'll see you all next week. Have a guest, and thanks a lot.
Later.